What is the most messed up thing someone admitted to you while drunk? One of my oldest friends got completely trashed at my place and admitted he liked wearing women's clothing and asked if he could try on a few of my dresses. I obliged, and we had a lot of fun. But the next morning when he woke up in a lacy purple dress and couldn't find the clothes he had worn in my place, he was pretty embarrassed. He now does drag shows sometimes in another state, and I've heard they're really good. While I was at a birthday party for one of my best friends, his best friend and girlfriend both drunkenly admitted to me, separately, that they were sleeping together and felt horribly guilty about it. If it was one of them, I'm not sure what I would have done. Since it was both of them, I took the hard route and told them about it. It was either true or a total prank. It was awful, but it was the right choice. It was true. The one that took me off guard the most was this girl I sat talking to for a couple hours. Then suddenly she says she's been stressing so much lately that she lost all her hair. She then went on to pull off her wig, displaying a completely bald head. This girl was 18. How the hell can you be so stressed by 18 that you lose all your hair? Could be trichotillomania, also compulsive hair pulling triggered by stress in this case. Edit, misspelled trichotillomania edit. Alopecia probably more likely for a completely bald head, and shout out to Slash or Slash Tricksters. It's a close one. I had a friend get drunk and start crying. He told me he had gotten his ex pregnant, and she insisted on an abortion. He couldn't stay with her after that, and he hated himself for everything that happened in that relationship. Sober, he's one of my happiest friends. One of my other friends got drunk and high soon after I told him I was engaged. He started crying and told me he had a crush on me and was in love with my fiancée. Then he tried to fight me because of it. I once drunkenly admitted to hooking up with an individual named Stevie. I'm a heterosexual male. Stevie is actually a girl, but I forgot to explain that bit. They made fun of me for a long time for that one. More on point, my ex-girlfriend once drunkenly explained to me how she and my other ex-girlfriend had more sex with each other than either did with me. That was an emotional roller coaster. A guy who had always been really pretentious and stuck up admitted that he acts like a dick because he's so afraid of people disliking him, he tries to at least make them dislike him on his terms. His logic was if he acts like a dick intentionally, then stops being dickish, people would think he'd suddenly become a great guy. Sad part was when he broke down sobbing and said he'd forgotten how to act normal anymore. Being a prick was just a knee-jerk reaction at this point. He felt like a good guy trapped in a douche-cake's body. Next day, he was back to normal. No memory of the night before, walking around correcting people and humble bragging. When we were high, my friend told me that her cousin, who I knew, had a secret half-brother who she and her siblings didn't know about. It was a whole thing where for a while their father had a secret second family. Everyone in my friend's family knew, but the three cousins had no idea. A couple years later, my friend had a destination wedding and me and her cousin were bridesmaids. We were all trashed in a pool, and the cousin ended up telling me that she had recently found out she had a half-sibling, and since I was about 7 rum and cokes and I simply responded, "Oh, man, I knew that years ago." My ex used to get blackout drunk and say awful things pretty much weekly. I'm sure there's a lot worse that he said, but a couple that stuck with me are the time he told me that he settled for me. Not the other way around. His friends did the typical man teasing all the time about how he must be paying me to say I'm his GF because I'm out of his league, etc. Just jokes. And the time he told me that I would never matter to him because I'm not the woman who has his son, so she's the one that matters. Coldest story I ever heard was from a guy years ago. His brother was seriously injured in a car accident, and the decision was made to take the brother off life support due to there being no brain activity. The guy telling the story said he asked to be the one to pull the plug and was allowed to do so. He actually pushed 2 buttons to turn off a respirator and then watched for 45 minutes as his brother's brain-dead body gasped for air until his heart stopped. I just sat there in dumbfounded silence. For the last decade, I'm 25 for reference, I've been crushing on this girl who is slightly older than me. She's 29 now. Crushing is an understatement. I would fantasize about our dream future, imagine holding her, and even to this day, I consider her to be the perfect woman. Anyway, the reason I hadn't made a move was primarily because she'd been in a relationship with her boyfriend, now husband, since she was 16, and secondarily because of our age difference. 15 to 19 is huge. Also, I'm not a homewrecker. We've become really great friends over the year to the point where I almost consider her family. Oh, FYI to my knowledge, I've kept my feelings hidden well over the years. Not a soul knows. I've been over her for a while. But alas, just 2 weeks ago, she got incredibly drunk and mentioned privately that she had feelings for me earlier and wished I was a few years older. Maybe things could have worked out. I like to think of that sometimes. I felt dejected and awful for the next week. Hell, even now, TBH. TLDR, I wish I was premature by 5 years. During one of our department's happy hours at a bar, The project manager, a woman with an advanced age, brought up how something, I forget is like when she and her husband makes a bet and the loser has to perform oral sex on the winner. The others awkwardly chucked and didn't say anything until someone changed the subject. By itself, it's not messed up, except none of the folks that were friends outside the office. Everyone just had a professional relationship. My best friend told me he was gay one night when we were out drinking. I've always kind of known. Obviously, that's not messed up, but I don't think he remembers it even happened. He's never told me again. It's messed up that he feels he has to hide it, not just from me, but everyone. I want to tell him that it's okay, that it literally won't change a thing between us. But I have no idea how to bring it up that won't make him feel like I've forced him into admitting it or just been generally uncomfortable for him. Good on you for wanting to be respectful. Gay guys who are in the closet are always looking for subtle clues to figure out if someone is okay with them being gay. So I would suggest making third-party observations. Like if something comes on the radio about gay marriage, you could voice your support. Or if some story comes up about a kid getting bullied for being gay, you could say something like, "That's messed up that a cool guy would get bullied for just being gay. If I knew anyone who was gay, I want them to know I got their back." Statements like that mean a lot to a closeted gay guy. My best friend, adorable and gorgeous in every way, was always the good girl and stayed a Bible virgin throughout a good portion of her 20s. She moved away to a party town. While drunk, she admitted she had sex. Problem is, she said, "It was my first time. I didn't really want to, but I was drunk at the time. He ended up giving me herpes. Hit like a ton bricks, and the most instant sobering I've ever experienced." A good friend of mine admitted to me that him and his wife regularly roleplay that he is me during sex. He says it started out just as a roleplay thing after she admitted to him she thought I was attractive. But now she wants him to style his hair like me, and she calls him my name when she wants to have sex. I wasn't sure how to respond to it. Like, I didn't know if he was telling me because it bummed him out or something, but then he said it really turns him on and he loves it, and he wishes I would really bang his wife so he could watch, but she would never really be into it for real. It's strange hanging out with him now. I similarly had a friend, who was less than a year younger than me, tell me that I was like a father to him. He still had both of his parents, but apparently he didn't feel loved by them at all. I'm pretty sure he was blackout drunk, but I've never forgotten. We do not live in the same place anymore, but I always make sure to check in on him from time to time. A man walks into a bar with a dog, tells everybody this is the smartest dog, but she can even talk. The dog says, "Yep, I can talk." A guy at the bar says, "That don't prove he's the smartest dog." The man says, "Okay, I'll prove it then. Butch, here's $5, go buy me a newspaper." And he gives the dog $5 and the dog leaves. They wait 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Butch never comes back, so they go out looking for him. And they find him right behind the bar shagging a lady dog. The man says, "Butch, what the hell? You've never done this before." Butch says, "Yeah, well, I've never had the money before." The first time I ever played this game, I wasn't too sure of the rules. One of the people in my group, a self-professed straight male, said, "I've never had anal sex with a man," and then put his own finger down. Since I wasn't 100% sure of the rules, I thought he might be confused too. I was like, "Dude, you only put your finger down if you have done that thing." He looked me straight in the eye and said, "I know." Not a drunk story, but that happened to my brother. Twice. First was a roommate of his. My brother came home from work one day, saw the roommate hanging above the stairs. Second time was about 10 years later. By now had moved cities, married, and had a kid. Went to his wife's brother's house to check up on him, as they hadn't heard from him in a while and hadn't been answering his phone or texts. Walks up to the house and sees him in the garage, slumped in the seat of his running car. My brother has seen some shit. I'm in a boat that's not too similar, but relatable. I used to be an over-the-top, obnoxious little shit. Well, I started smoking weed regularly, and I eventually became obsessed with never being that annoying little shit again. But now it's gotten to the point where I'm pretty antisocial, and am always afraid of making the wrong impression. Funny thing is, I bet I don't give off a good impression with the new me either. Socializing's hard. I've heard so many stories like this, and I always thought, what if it was one of my friends? Would I find it weird? Well, recently I found out one of my female friends is now living as a male. And I was just like, good for her. I mean him, I guess. And haven't thought about it again until this moment. I think the only difference for me is that when I see him, I might say her accidentally, but other than that, it's not weird at all. Still, I'm sure it's a hard life. My friend is in the north, so maybe a bit better situation than your friend. Hope everything is going well with her. There hasn't been one yet. This was almost 2 months ago. Anytime a topic gets to anything sexual or a friend of mine / has mentioned someone is hot, we both become visibly uncomfortable. Might just be me overthinking it, but I'm pretty sure he remembers saying it and knows, but we've never spoken to each other about it and I don't plan on it. I live with my boyfriend, so I don't have to see him much. Hey, don't beat yourself up about this. The easiest way to slump back down into depression is to let guilt eat you up. You just have to trust that she forgives you, move on, and don't think about it. Time will heal it. As far as the depression goes, and feeling like you'll take your own life somehow, I highly recommend talking to a psychologist about your struggles. I dealt with this, and still do at times, but it wasn't until I figured out why I'm this way that I felt strong enough to keep going. Turns out, my mother ruined me when I was a child. Wasn't her fault though, because she deals with the same struggles, and so did her mom as well. But putting some reason to my thoughts really helps. Hope this encourages you somewhat. My wife teaches little kids, 3 to 5, and let's just say it's probably to our benefit that we don't remember much from our early years. Also, the age of social media and everyone has to know about my kids' every move is either going to lead to some great 18th birthday gifts or a serious lack of material for wedding toasts. Edit. Pronouns are bothering me. A man walks into a bar with a dog. The bartender says, "You can't bring that dog in here." "You don't understand," says the man. "This is no regular dog. He can talk." "Listen, pal," says the bartender. "If that dog can talk, I'll give you $100. The man puts the dog on a stool and asks him, "What's on top of a house?" "Roof." "Right. And what's on the outside of a tree?" "Bark." "And who's the greatest baseball player of all time?" "Ruth." "I guess you've heard enough," says the man. "I'll take the 120s. The bartender is furious. "Listen, pal," he says, "get out of here before I belt you." As soon as they're on the street, the dog turns to the man and says, "Do you think I should have said DiMaggio?" "I am sorry. My papa died in July of last year, and it still doesn't feel real. I go to my grandma's house, and it's just so empty feeling now. I sleep in his bed when I stay there, and my heart just aches all night long. It just doesn't make sense for someone to be there your whole life and they are just gone. I dream about him every night. My mom died when I was 8, but it didn't really hit me like this. Papa's death has really shaken up my entire view on life and made me see how much I absolutely love my family. Sorry for the rant." That's exactly what it is. If someone can't continue living with any good quality of life, keeping on life support is just dragging it out and is really selfish unless they under good judgment wish to continue fighting. My mother passed away of cancer because she chose to. Given the situation, it was really the only thing she chose to do. After the cancer spreads that far, at some point choosing to die peacefully in your sleep starts to sound like a decent option. I fully supported her position and was with her to the end. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.